the human who ate the apocalypse. The Vethak scout crouched behind the twisted metal remains of what used to be a cargo hauler, his 4 arms trembling as he watched Corporal Rosa Martinez tear open another one of those cursed human meal packets. The sound of ripping foil made his carapace shiver. "Anyone want to try the beef stew?" Rosa asked cheerfully, steam rising from the self-heating pouch. The smell hit the air, a noxious combination of what the Vethak database had classified as Class 9 toxins mixed with combustible compounds. Sergeant Dex, the squad's Thul commander, made a clicking noise deep in his throat that roughly translated to "absolutely not, you insane deathworlder." What he actually said was, "Perhaps you should. Conserve your supplies, Corporal." Rosa shrugged and dumped the entire contents into her mouth, chewing with obvious satisfaction. The Vethak scout, Rask, watched through his scope's magnification settings as she swallowed what should have killed her instantly. His secondary stomach lurched. "Contact in 30 minutes, Dex announced, his translator struggling with the nervous pitch of his voice. Final equipment check. The mixed squad of 2 Vethak, 3 Thul, and 1 impossibly durable human had been tracking the rebel supply convoy for 6 days across the contested moon of Tertius Gamma. The gravity here was only 0.8 standard, which meant Rosa bounced slightly when she walked, apparently finding this amusing rather than concerning. "Rask, you've been staring," Rosa said, noticing the scout's horrified fascination. "Want some crackers? They're jalapeno cheese flavored." The Vethak's mandibles clicked in what might have been polite refusal or existential terror. According to his suit's chemical analysis, those crackers contained enough capsaicin to use as riot control agents. The cheese registered as a complex bacterial culture that would cause immediate systemic shutdown in 17 different species. "I am adequately nourished," Rask managed. Rosa nodded and crunched through another cracker, then pulled out a small packet labeled "Hot Sauce Extra Spicy." The Thul demolitions expert, Brack, actually took 3 steps backward. "Martinez," Dex said carefully, "perhaps you could explain why your species consumes that." "What, the hot sauce?" Rosa shook several drops onto her remaining crackers. "Gives it flavor. Plus, my mom always said spicy food builds character." She paused mid-chew. Actually, she said it builds character after she'd had 3 margaritas, but the principle stands. The chemical readout on Brack's scanner spiked to dangerous levels. That hot sauce contained concentrated alkaloids that the Thul used to strip paint from ship hulls. Rosa had just seasoned her food with industrial solvent. "Your mother fed you chemical weapons as a child?" Rask asked faintly. "Nah, she wasn't much for cooking. Dad made the really spicy stuff." Rosa's expression grew distant. He'd enter these chili competitions back in Nuevo Laredo, used to say his ghost pepper salsa could wake the dead and send them running. She dabbed her eyes with the back of her hand. "Miss those Sunday barbecues." The aliens exchanged glances that conveyed roughly the same sentiment. What kind of hellish deathworld produces beings that weaponize their cuisine? "Movement," announced Senna, the 2nd Vethak, her scope trained on the approaching convoy. 3 heavy transports, light escort, 2 clicks out. Rosa immediately pulled out another meal packet, this one labeled Chili Mac with beef. "Martinez," Dex said slowly, "we are about to engage the enemy." "I know. Pre-battle meal." She activated the heating element. "Can't fight on an empty stomach." "But you just..." Brack gestured helplessly at the pile of empty wrappers around her position. "You consumed enough toxins, too. Look, we've been hiking for 6 hours since breakfast. I'm hungry." Rosa checked her weapon while the meal heated. "Besides, this stuff keeps forever. My unit found cases of these things from the Titan campaign. That was, 15 years ago. Still good." Rask's scope nearly slipped from his nerveless fingers. "You consume preserved chemical weapons from battles fought over a decade ago. Food preservatives work great, Rosa said. Though honestly, I think they're getting a little bland. The ones from the Mars Rebellion had more kick. The heating cycle is completed with a soft chime. Rosa stirred the contents and took a large spoonful, then frowned. They never heat evenly, cold spots in the middle. She stirred it more aggressively. These stupid heating packs are garbage quality. The chemical analysis made Senna's equipment start throwing warning alarms. Contact, Dex barked. Weapons free. The rebel convoy had spotted them. Energy bolts started crackling overhead as the squad returned fire. Rosa, still holding her meal pouch, rolled behind better cover and kept eating between shots. Suppressing fire on the left transport, Dex shouted. Rosa shouldered her plasma rifle, took careful aim, and squeezed off 3 shots that punched through the transport's shields. Then she calmly took another bite of chili mac. "How are you still functional?" Brack demanded, diving for cover as return fire scorched the ground near his position. That meal contained enough sodium nitrate to preserve a Corellian cruiser. "High metabolism," Rosa replied, picking off 2 rebels who tried to flank their position. "Plus, humans have great kidneys. We can filter pretty much anything." A grenade landed near Rask's position. Rosa vaulted over her cover, grabbed the explosive device, and hurled it back at the enemy while still holding her meal pouch in her other hand. The explosion sent 3 rebels diving for cover. "That was impressive," Rask admitted, then noticed Rosa was calmly eating again. But before he could comment, Brack interrupted. "But how do you coordinate motor functions while consuming nerve toxins?" Rosa paused mid-chew and looked around at all the staring faces. "You guys want some? I've got extra crackers if you're hungry." "Practice," Rosa said around a mouthful of chili mac. "Besides, this isn't even that spicy. You should try my buddy Jake's ghost pepper jerky. That stuff'll clear your sinuses for a week." The battle continued for another 20 minutes. The rebels had superior numbers, but inferior positioning. More importantly, they seemed deeply unsettled by the sight of a human warrior who ate industrial chemicals between firefights and showed no signs of systemic breakdown. When the last transport finally surrendered, Rosa finished her meal and started cleaning her weapon. "Casualty report?" Dex asked. 2 rebels wounded, none dead, Senna reported. "Our squad. No injuries. Martinez," Dex said slowly. "During the engagement, you consumed approximately 400 grams of preserved combat rations, containing all kinds of chemical preservatives, synthetic proteins of unknown origin, and enough capsaicin to incapacitate a Rigelian assault team. You then engaged in sustained combat operations, without any degradation in performance." "Yeah," Rosa looked up from her weapon maintenance. "And how are you not dead?" Rosa considered this seriously. "Honestly, I think my dad's cooking prepared me for anything. Plus, human food safety standards are pretty relaxed compared to most species. We figure if it doesn't kill you immediately, it's probably fine." Brack's mandibles clicked in what the translator rendered as nervous laughter. "Your species has relaxed standards for toxin consumption." "Well, yeah, I mean, we drink ethanol for fun. My college roommate used to eat raw fish on purpose, said it was sophisticated." Rosa packed away her cleaning kit. "Plus, humans have been eating fermented stuff for thousands of years. Builds up tolerance." "Fermented substances," Rask's voice rose an octave. "Sure, cheese, wine, kimchi, sauerkraut, yogurt." Rosa ticked off items on her fingers. "Half our food is basically controlled bacterial warfare that we decided tastes good." The aliens stared at her in growing horror. "My grandmother used to make this fermented cabbage dish," Rosa continued, oblivious to their distress. "Left it in jars in the basement for months. Smelled like a chemical spill, but man, it was good with pork." "You deliberately cultivate bacterial colonies?" Senna asked weakly. "In your dwellings?" "Food preparation, yeah. Some people are really into it. My cousin breeds his own yogurt cultures. Rosa shouldered her pack. Says the store-bought stuff doesn't have enough personality. The 3-day march to the extraction point became an extended education in human culinary horrors. Rosa's breakfast consisted of something called eggs with hot sauce that registered on the chemical scanners as a biological weapon mixed with industrial cleaner. Her lunch featured jerky that appeared to be preserved meat saturated with enough sodium to mummify a Corellian. The preservation process removes most of the water, Rosa explained, tearing off strips of the leather-like substance with her teeth. Concentrates the flavor. And the chemical coating? Brack asked, his scanner readings suggesting the jerky contained enough preservatives to maintain a space station's hull. Salt, mostly, some nitrates, keeps it from going bad for years. Rosa offered him a piece. Try some. Brack's scanner started shrieking warnings about immediate toxicity. I have dietary restrictions. But Senna, who had been quietly observing, surprised everyone by stepping forward. Actually, I am curious about the texture. Is it similar to dried protein sheets? By day 2, the squad had developed a morbid fascination with Rosa's meal choices. When she pulled out something called cheese spread that came in an aerosol can, Rask actually started taking notes. Your species pressurizes dairy products, he asked, watching Rosa spray orange foam directly into her mouth. It's processed cheese, technically. Rosa read the ingredients list. Contains milk protein, vegetable oil, emulsifiers, artificial coloring, and about 15 things I can't pronounce. You consume substances with unknown components. Sure, as long as it's FDA approved. Rosa noticed their blank expressions. Food and Drug Administration. They make sure stuff won't kill you immediately. Immediately, Dex's translation device struggled with the concept. Well, yeah, long-term effects are harder to track. But hey, my grandfather ate this stuff for 60 years, and he lived to 87. How long is a human expected to survive? Senna asked carefully. Natural lifespan, maybe 90 years if you're lucky and avoid accidents. Rosa squeezed more cheese foam onto a cracker. Course, humans don't really die of old age. Usually it's our hobbies that get us. Hobbies? Extreme sports, dangerous food, stupid bets. Rosa shrugged. We get bored easily. That evening, Rosa made what she called coffee, using a portable heating unit and a packet of brown powder. The smell alone made Rask's eyes water. This is a stimulant beverage, Rosa explained, stirring in 3 packets of sugar and something called powdered creamer. Helps you stay alert. Brack's chemical analysis went haywire. That liquid contains enough concentrated alkaloids to trigger cardiac arrest in most known species. Yeah, caffeine's pretty powerful stuff. Rosa took a long drink. Some humans can't handle it. Makes them jittery. And you. Takes about 4 cups to really wake me up. Rosa checked her watch. Might need another one for the night watch. The aliens watched in fascinated horror as she proceeded to consume what amounted to a lethal dose of psychoactive compounds. Then calmly began field stripping her weapon for the evening maintenance routine. Martinez, Dex said carefully, do all humans possess your resilience to chemical agents? Nah, I'm probably on the higher end. My metabolism's always been fast. Rosa reassembled her rifle with practiced efficiency. My unit medic says I process stuff quicker than most people. Course, that might just be the Illinois gene pool. Gene pool, regional genetic variation. People from the Midwest tend to be pretty sturdy. All that corn and dairy farming builds constitution. Your agricultural practices produce enhanced chemical resistance. Rosa considered this. Well, farm kids do eat a lot of weird stuff. My cousin Tommy used to dare people to drink raw milk straight from the cow. Most city folks can't handle that. The concept of deliberately consuming unprocessed biological material seemed to break something in Rask's brain. He made a series of clicking sounds that the translator couldn't parse. On the final day, 15 minutes from the extraction point, Rosa's portable food heater malfunctioned. "Damn thing's busted," she said, examining the device. "Must have gotten banged up during the firefight." "Your meal packets require thermal activation?" Dex asked. "Yeah, they taste pretty awful cold." Rosa looked thoughtful. "Though I guess if I'm really hungry." She tore open a packet labeled beef and rice and took a large spoonful of the unheated contents. The chemical analysis showed a complex mixture of preservatives, stabilizers, and uncooked proteins that would cause immediate food poisoning in any rational species. "My drill instructor used to make us eat cold MREs as punishment," Rosa said conversationally. "Builds character. You were forced to consume unheated chemical rations as a disciplinary measure." Senna asked faintly. "Military training teaches you to eat anything when you're really hungry." Rosa scraped the bottom of the packet. "Plus, it makes the hot ones taste amazing by comparison." The extraction shuttle arrived to find 5 aliens standing in a careful circle around one human, who was calmly finishing her meal. The pilot, a Corellian, looked confused. "Medical emergency?" the pilot asked over the comm. "Negative," Dex replied slowly. "Just educational experience." During the flight back to base, Rosa pulled out one final item from her pack. A small packet labeled emergency chocolate. "Dessert," she explained to the horrified aliens. "High-energy sugar and cocoa. Plus, it's got enough caffeine to keep you going for hours." The chemical analysis identified the chocolate as containing trace amounts of theobromine, a compound that would cause cardiac arrhythmia in most species. Rosa consumed the entire bar in 4 bites. "Your species treats cardiac stimulants as recreational food?" Rask asked weakly. "Chocolate's not that strong. Now, if you really want a kick, you should try those energy drinks they sell on Proxima Station." Jake brought back a case of something called liquid lightning that kept him awake for 3 days straight. The shuttle ride concluded in relative silence, broken only by the occasional worried clicking from the alien squad members and Rosa's satisfied humming as she organized her empty meal packets. At the debriefing, Colonel Tormund, the Thull base commander, reviewed the mission report with growing bewilderment. "Sergeant Dex," he said finally, "your assessment of Corporal Martinez states, and I quote, demonstrates exceptional combat effectiveness despite continuous consumption of various chemical warfare agents disguised as nutritional supplements." "That is accurate, sir. You're recommending her for commendation?" "Yes, sir, and immediate dietary evaluation by the Xenobiology Department." "Dietary evaluation?" Dex's mandibles clicked nervously. "Sir, we need to determine if Corporal Martinez represents typical human chemical resistance, or if she's some kind of enhanced super soldier." Rosa, standing at attention beside the aliens, looked puzzled. "Enhanced? Sir, I'm just from Chicago. We eat pretty normal stuff." The colonel's 3 eyes focused on her with something approaching dread. "Chicago?" "Yes, sir, deep dish pizza, Italian beef, Polish sausages." Rosa's voice grew wistful. "Man, I could really go for a proper hot dog right about now. With the works mustard, onions, relish, tomatoes, pickles, sport peppers." "Sport peppers?" the colonel asked faintly. "Little hot peppers. Nothing too crazy, maybe 2,000 Scoville units." Rosa noticed the aliens' expressions. "That's not very spicy by human standards. My dad's ghost pepper sauce was closer to 1,000,000. Colonel Tormund made a note in his files. "Corporal Martinez, you're being reassigned to the Xenobiology Research Division. Effective immediately." "Sir, we need to understand what we're dealing with." After Rosa left, the colonel turned to Sergeant Dex. "How many humans are currently stationed on this base?" 47, sir. "And they all eat like that?" "Unknown, sir. but Corporal Martinez mentioned this was normal for her species. Colonel Tormund was quiet for a long moment. Sergeant, update the human quarters fire suppression systems and increase the ventilation in the mess hall. Sir, if they're all carrying chemical weapons disguised as lunch, we need to be prepared. 3 weeks later, the cafeteria introduced a separate human cuisine section with appropriate warning labels in 17 languages. The first item on the menu was something called buffalo wings that required a hazmat license to prepare. The lines stretched around the building. Apparently, other species found the concept of edible danger fascinating, if terrifying. Rosa, now serving as an unofficial cultural liaison, tried to explain the appeal to a confused Rigelian diplomat. "It's not about the pain," she said, watching the alien gingerly sample a mild salsa. "It's about proving you can handle it, like a rite of passage. Your species uses culinary challenges as social bonding mechanisms." "Sure, ever heard of a ghost pepper challenge?" Rosa grinned. "Jake holds the base record, ate 3 whole peppers without drinking anything for 10 minutes. The diplomat's translator had to restart twice before rendering this as voluntary consumption of agricultural warfare agents for recreational purposes. "Humans," the Rigelian said finally, "are very strange." "Yeah," Rosa agreed cheerfully, "but we're fun at parties." 2 months later, the emergency klaxon woke the entire base at 0430 hours. Rosa stumbled out of her bunk, automatically reaching for her emergency rations, while other species rushed to their combat stations in various states of panic. "All squads report to Briefing Alpha," the base comm crackled. "Priority 1 deployment." In the briefing room, Colonel Tormund looked grim. "We've lost contact with forward operating base Kestrel on Sigma Draconis. Last transmission indicated heavy enemy contact. Mixed assault teams deploying in 20 minutes. Rosa found herself assigned to Alpha Squad with familiar faces Dex, Rask, Brack, plus 2 new additions. A Corellian heavy weapons specialist named Steele, and a nervous Andromedean medic called Raiden. During the shuttle flight, Rosa pulled out what had become her standard pre-combat meal, something called beef stew with mystery vegetables that she'd been saving for special occasions. "Corporal Martinez," Steele said carefully, "given the sensitive nature of this mission, perhaps you could minimize the chemical emissions." "Chemical emissions?" Rosa looked genuinely confused, then noticed everyone was breathing through filtration masks. "Oh, you mean the smell. The stew you are consuming registers as a Class 8 biological weapon," Raiden said, his translator crackling with electronic distress. "My medical scanner suggests it contains active cultures of 17 different bacterial strains. Yeah, they add probiotics now, good for digestion." Rosa stirred the contents thoughtfully, "Though I gotta say, the vegetables are pretty sketchy. Can't tell if that's supposed to be a carrot or some kind of root vegetable." "You consume items of uncertain biological origin?" Steele asked. "Military policy. If it's in the MRE, it's technically edible." Rosa fished out a cube of something orange. "My theory is they make them deliberately weird so you don't get too comfortable with the taste." "Comfortable? If field rations tasted too good, soldiers might start hoarding them instead of eating regular food." Rosa bit into the mysterious cube and made a face. Definitely not a carrot. Tastes like wet cardboard with vitamins." The shuttle hit turbulence, and Rosa's meal packet nearly went flying. She caught it smoothly, not spilling a drop. "Impressive reflexes," Rask noted. "Lots of practice eating in moving vehicles." Rosa scraped the bottom of the packet. "Bus rides to school, car trips, military transports. You learn to adapt. Your species consumes nutrition while in transit." "Sure, Americans especially eat in cars all the time. Drive-through restaurants, road trip snacks, coffee on the commute." Rosa pulled out a packet of crackers. "Multitasking." Raiden's medical scanner started beeping warnings as she opened what appeared to be more of the jalapeno cheese spread. "Corporal," he said urgently, "that substance contains enough capsaicin to use as riot control." "I know, right? It's awesome." Rosa squeezed the orange paste directly onto her tongue. "Burns so good." The Andromedean medic actually whimpered. Landing at forward operating base Kestrel revealed a smoking crater where the main communications array used to be. The base itself was intact, but eerily quiet. "Life signs?" Dex asked, scanning the compound. 14 humans, 43 mixed aliens, all inside the main bunker, Steele reported. "They're alive but not responding to comm signals." The squad advanced carefully through the damaged outer perimeter. Rosa, bringing up the rear, was methodically working her way through what she called trail mix, a combination of nuts, dried fruit, and chocolate pieces that made the chemical scanners emit continuous warning tones. "Contact," Rask called from the point position. A squad of enemy hegemony soldiers had been using the communications crater for cover. Plasma fire erupted from multiple positions. Rosa immediately dove behind a concrete barrier, still holding her trail mix bag. Between return shots, she picked out the chocolate pieces and ate them first. "Tactical priorities?" Steele asked, slightly impressed by her casualness under fire. "Chocolate melts if you wait too long," Rosa explained, putting 3 shots center mass on an enemy position. "Learned that on Titan, spent 6 hours in a heated bunker with melted M&Ms all over my gear." The firefight lasted 40 minutes. When the last enemy soldier surrendered, Rosa was finishing the nuts from her trail mix and looking remarkably unperturbed by the extended combat. "Casualty report," Dex called. 1 enemy wounded, 6 surrendered. Our squad, no injuries." Rask paused. "Though Corporal Martinez has consumed approximately 300 grams of mixed nuts, including several varieties that contain trace amounts of natural cyanide compounds." "Almonds?" Rosa asked. "Yeah, they've got amygdalin. Tiny amounts, though. You'd have to eat like 50 pounds to get real poisoning." "You are aware your food contains cyanide?" Ryden asked faintly. "Lots of food has weird stuff in it. Apple seeds, cherry pits, cassava root." Rosa shrugged. "Humans have been eating this stuff for thousands of years. We're pretty good at processing it." Inside the bunker, they found the survivors in good health but clearly shaken. The human contingent looked relieved to see Rosa. "Martinez," called Staff Sergeant Becca Walsh, "please tell me you brought real food." "Got some extras," Rosa confirmed, pulling out several meal packets. "Chili mac, beef stew, chicken, and rice." "Beef stew," Becca's eyes lit up. "The one with the mystery vegetables." "That's the one." The alien survivors watched in horror as the humans began eagerly trading MRE packets like they were valuable commodities. "I'll give you my pound cake for your cheese tortellini," offered Private Dane Rivers. "Deal, but I want your hot sauce packets too." "The humans are bartering chemical weapons?" asked Commander Vance, a Vethak who'd been leading the base defense. "Food trading," Rosa explained. "Everyone's got favorites. Some people like the pasta dishes, others prefer the meat entries. Me, I'm partial to anything with decent heat." She demonstrated by opening a packet labeled chicken pesto and immediately adding 4 packets of hot sauce to it. "4 packets?" Vance asked weakly. "This brand's pretty mild. The good stuff comes in little bottles, but they don't include those in the field rations." Rosa stirred the mixture into an alarming orange color. "My buddy Jake smuggles in his own supply ghost pepper extract, Carolina Reaper sauce, stuff like that." Carolina Reaper, pepper variety, about 2.2 million Scoville units. Rosa took a large spoonful. Now that's got some kick. The base's alien survivors spent the next 3 hours watching the human soldiers share what amounted to a feast of industrial toxins. Each item carefully selected and combined to maximize chemical potency. when Corporal Amy Fletcher opened something called chocolate brownie with nuts. The chemical scanners registered enough theobromine to cause seizures in most species. Dessert, Rosa explained to the increasingly distressed aliens. High-energy chocolate, plus nuts for protein. Your species treats cardiac stimulants as celebratory nutrition. Chocolate's not that strong. Now, if you want real stimulation, try the energy drinks they sell on Luna Station. Rosa pulled out a small packet labeled Energy Shot Extreme Caffeine. This little guy's got about as much caffeine as 6 cups of coffee. Ryden's medical scanner actually started smoking. "You're going to consume that?" he asked desperately. "Planning to. We've got a 6-hour patrol starting at dawn, and I didn't get much sleep on the shuttle." Rosa tore open the packet. "Plus, this stuff tastes like synthetic berry flavor. Kids love it. Children consume this. Well, not usually this concentration. But yeah, humans start drinking caffeine pretty young. Soda, iced tea, chocolate." Rosa downed the energy shot in one gulp. "I had my first Coke when I was maybe 8. The aliens stared at her in complete silence. "Your parents administered psychoactive stimulants to you as a child?" Commander Vance asked. "It was a birthday party. My mom figured a little caffeine wouldn't hurt." Rosa checked her weapon and began field stripping it for maintenance. "Course, I was bouncing off the walls for about 4 hours afterward. And this was acceptable parenting." Rosa considered this while cleaning her rifle barrel. "American parenting's pretty relaxed about some stuff. I mean, we don't let kids drink alcohol, but caffeine and sugar. Fair game. Alcohol is restricted, but industrial stimulants are not. Different cultural priorities, I guess." Rosa reassembled her weapon with practiced efficiency, her movements noticeably quicker and more precise than before. Though honestly, some of the stuff we give kids is probably worse than a beer. "Worse how? Ever seen a kid on a sugar high after Halloween? Pure chaos." Rosa grinned. 3 pounds of candy in 4 hours, running around screaming until they crash. Makes drunk adults look civilized. The concept of deliberately inducing hyperactive states in children seemed to break something fundamental in the aliens' understanding of human society. The next morning's patrol revealed another disturbing aspect of human dietary habits: breakfast. Rosa began the day with something called scrambled eggs with ham, which the chemical analysis identified as a combination of processed proteins, artificial flavoring, and enough sodium to preserve a small spacecraft. "The salt content alone should cause immediate renal failure," Ryden observed, watching Rosa add hot sauce to the mixture. "Nah, human kidneys are tough. We can process way more sodium than most species." Rosa stirred in more hot sauce. "Plus, sweating helps regulate it. Humans are built for endurance activities in hot climates." "Hot climates? Earth's got some pretty brutal environments. Deserts, tropical regions, places where the ambient temperature regularly exceeds what's comfortable for most aliens." Rosa took a large bite. "My grandparents lived in Arizona. Summer temperatures hit 120 degrees Fahrenheit. They considered that pleasant weather." 120. Rask's translator struggled with the conversion. "That is approaching the boiling point of some organic compounds. Yeah, Arizona summers are pretty intense, but humans adapted to handle it. Efficient cooling through perspiration, high tolerance for dehydration, ability to function in extreme heat." Rosa finished her eggs and started on a packet of mixed berry granola. "Course, that also means we need higher sodium intake to replace what we lose sweating." Their scanners showed enough concentrated fruit acids to strip paint, mixed with complex carbohydrates and artificial preservatives. "Your homeworld's environment requires consumption of industrial cleaning agents?" Steele asked. "Processed food, mostly. Though honestly, some of the fruit humans eat naturally is pretty intense." Rosa crunched through the granola thoughtfully. "Ever heard of durian? Or ghost peppers? Stuff that grows wild but could probably qualify as chemical weapons. Your species evolved alongside naturally occurring toxins. Earth's pretty hostile, comparatively speaking. Plants and animals that developed chemical defenses, extreme weather patterns, geological instability. Rosa shrugged. Humans adapted by becoming generalists. We can eat almost anything, survive in most climates, recover from injuries that would kill other species. The patrol route took them through a section of forest where local wildlife had been disturbed by the recent combat. Most of the alien squad members moved carefully, aware that they were in unfamiliar territory with unknown biological hazards. Rosa, meanwhile, picked wild berries off bushes and ate them without apparent concern. Corporal Martinez, Dex said urgently, "Those fruits have not been tested for." "They're fine," Rosa said around a mouthful of purple berries. "Similar to earth blackberries. Bit more tart, but nothing dangerous. How can you determine safety without chemical analysis? Pattern recognition. Color, smell, taste, how they're growing." Rosa picked another handful. "Plus, humans have pretty good natural toxin resistance. If something's going to poison me, I'll usually feel it before it gets dangerous." Feel it. Mouth tingling, stomach upset, weird aftertaste. Early warning system. Rosa offered berries to the squad. "Want some? They're actually pretty good." Every alien scanner in the squad immediately started registering mild alkaloid concentrations and unknown organic compounds. "I will decline," Rask said carefully. The afternoon brought another revelation when Rosa opened her final meal packet. Beef and bean burrito with spicy sauce. "What level of chemical enhancement does spicy indicate?" Steele asked, already knowing he wouldn't like the answer. Rosa read the ingredients list. "Let's see. Jalapeno peppers, chipotle pepper, cayenne pepper extract, natural and artificial flavoring." She paused. "Oh, and it says, warning, very hot in 3 languages. 3 languages. English, Spanish, and what looks like Mandarin Chinese," Rosa shrugged. "Covering all the major human demographic groups that might buy this." The concept that humans had created multilingual warning labels for their food seemed to encapsulate everything the aliens found terrifying about the species. So multiple human cultures independently developed tolerance for these compounds, Ryden asked. "Oh yeah, spicy food is popular all over Earth. Mexican, Indian, Thai, Korean, Ethiopian." Rosa activated the heating element. Different peppers, different preparation methods. But basically, every human culture figured out how to weaponize vegetables. Weaponize. Make them hurt so good you can't stop eating them. Rosa stirred the heating burrito contents, then paused. "Actually, wait. This might be too hot even for me." The warning label's got a skull on it. She took a bite anyway. Her eyes immediately started watering. "Should we call for medical assistance?" Ryden asked. "Nah, this is normal." Rosa wiped her eyes with her sleeve. "The burn's half the appeal. Endorphin rush, sense of accomplishment, plus it just tastes amazing once you get used to it." Endorphin rush. Pain triggers natural painkillers. So eating spicy food actually makes you feel good after the initial burn. Rosa took another large bite. It's like natural drugs, but legal. The squad continued their patrol, with Rosa consuming what amounted to a chemical weapon, while maintaining perfect combat readiness and obvious enjoyment. At the mission debrief, Colonel Tormund reviewed the expanded reports with growing concern. "Sergeant Dex, your latest assessment of human dietary habits includes 17 separate incidents of voluntary toxin consumption, deliberate ingestion of industrial preservatives, and what you've classified as recreational pain endurance." "Yes, sir." Corporal Martinez appears to represent typical human feeding patterns. Typical. She mentioned several other humans with even more extreme dietary preferences. The colonel made another note. "We're implementing new protocols for human personnel." All meals will be prepared in isolated facilities with proper ventilation and hazardous material handling procedures. Sir Corporal Martinez requested permission to host a chili cook-off for the human staff next month. Colonel Tormund was quiet for a long moment. Absolutely not. Sir, if they want to poison each other for recreation, they can do it off-base. But despite the official position, the Human Cuisine Research Project became one of the most popular assignments on the station. Apparently, the combination of scientific fascination and the fundamental impossibility of the whole concept made it irresistible to xenobiologists throughout the sector. Rosa, now officially designated as Chief Human Dietary Cultural Liaison, found herself explaining the finer points of human food culture to increasingly bewildered scientists. So you see, she told a gathering of Rigelian researchers, the key to understanding human cuisine is that we don't just eat for nutrition. We eat for pleasure, social bonding, cultural identity, emotional comfort, and sometimes just to prove we can handle it. And the chemical warfare aspects, that's just Tuesday.